Chapter 10. Dylan managed to sneak the bulky bag of copied pages back into the house without his grandparents noticing. The rain was coming down really hard now, so he kept his jacket zipped and told them he wanted to change his clothes before darting down the stairs and closing the door to his room behind him. He stashed the bag under his pillow, changed, and joined Grandma in the kitchen to bake some rain day bread. They painted pictures in the afternoon, Grandma painting a dragon peering from behind one of the big pine trees in the backyard, and Dylan copying a picture of the Eiffel Tower in Paris from his atlas. The three of them cooked dinner together, chicken and corn to go along with the fresh bread. They watched a documentary about big band jazz on the public access channel, and Dylan, thinking it was late enough, told them he was tired and wanted to go to bed. He could hear his grandparents upstairs from his room and waited until he heard his grandpa shuffle off to their bedroom before he turned the reading light on next to his bed and carefully, quietly pulled the packet of papers from the damp bag and began to read. Most of the pages were photocopies from newspapers, and he noticed right away that they were stacked in chronological order. There were several stories about Mad Cat Holly, but many of them were short, no more than a paragraph in the police blotter. Residents of Lake of the Woods area contacted police after claiming to have seen a giant fish. 2 fishermen reported seeing an oversized bass in Lake of the Woods Thursday. One of the distinguishing features, apart from its size, was a red eye, reportedly the size of a mower tire. A long story from 1939 was about 2 guys called the Dublin brothers. The brothers, Emmett and Arthur, went missing after they went fishing in Lake of the Woods. A search party was formed of local fishermen and hunters, and for more than a week they scoured the cold, damp woods and the area around the lake looking for something, anything that might lead to the brothers being found. Searchers found a coat that was believed to have belonged to Emmett, and as the winter set in and the lake froze over, some kids playing on the ice discovered what appeared to be a rowboat sunk in the sediment in a shallow cove. The ice made the water clearer, the sheriff, Tom Gordon, told the paper at the time. We believe the Dublin brothers were fishing when their boat sank under unknown circumstances. Area residents blamed the red-eyed bass, and some claimed it was actually sent by the devil to hunt poachers, which the brothers were well known to be. There were no more mentions about them, other than references in future articles, and people still thinking that the monster bass had something to do with their disappearance. The next article he came across was from 1952 and bore the headline, "Scientists Believe Monster Bass Part of Nuclear Test." The story went on to describe Dr. James Patterson, a biologist from the University of Michigan who visited the area over the summer of 1952 and heard the legends of the red-eyed monster bass. He used a Geiger counter to measure radiation around the lake and was convinced the fish was the result of a failed nuclear experiment. A mutated monster is what he called it. The professor didn't offer any evidence, just a theory about the origins of the monster bass, which residents, according to the letters to the editor that followed, were suspicious of, even if they didn't doubt the existence of the fish. News articles, short mentions, and clippings were pretty regular, but without much more depth through the 1960s and 70s. It seemed to Dylan that people would see something strange, a hump emerging from the lake, a glint on the moonlit water, a splash bigger than it should have been in a distant corner of the lake, and immediately call the newspaper. But a pattern was beginning to reveal itself. Most of the sightings happened early in the summer. Most of them happened either early in the morning or late at night, long after the sun had set. Dylan took a pencil and a notebook from his backpack and began scrawling thoughts. Early summer. Now? ? Late at night, early in the morning. Night feeder? ? He read on. In 1986, the mayor and sheriff offered a bounty of $5,000 for anyone who could catch the red-eyed monster bass. It was the first time, as far as Dylan could tell, that anyone had publicly stated that they wanted not only proof of its existence, but wanted it caught and removed from the lake. The article said that the bounty caused a fury, with fishermen coming from all over the state and nearby states to try and grab their piece of the prize. The small lake in the woods was packed with boats, and a photo that ran in the newspaper story showed men huddled in a small craft, hunched over fishing poles. It got so chaotic that fights began to break out between the fishermen, sending several toppling out of their boats and into the water. But the bounty was rescinded, and the contest was called off when a man named Curtis Teals from Detroit put everyone in danger by tossing lit sticks of dynamite into the water to try and blast the monster bass to the surface. 3 fishermen were injured, and according to the article, hundreds of fish were killed from the explosions. The sheriff and deputies arrested Curtis Teals and sent all the fishermen home. On the second page of the article was another picture, and the face in it was instantly familiar. The photographer snapped a picture of him as he and a couple of other volunteers were scooping up the dead fish killed by the blast. It's a shame that men would go to such lengths and cause so much destruction for a fish and some money, his grandfather was quoted in the article. Dylan scribbled another note. Grandpa knows more than he's said. There were 3 more articles among the pages in the thick packet the librarian had given Dylan, but they were very much like the ones before. Sightings, rumors, myths. A vacationer filed a police report after seeing something strange swimming next to his rented kayak. Kayak, he wrote in his notebook. Rent a kayak? ? Dylan had read for more than 2 hours and was exhausted. He wasn't sure he had learned all that much from the reading, other than there were a lot of people who believed in the red-eyed monster baths, and that some people had gone to great lengths to try and capture it, kill it, or explain its existence. He yawned a powerful, full-bodied yawn and tucked the pages back into the paper bag and his pencil and notebook back into his backpack. After turning off the reading lamp and closing his eyes, he had one thought before drifting off to sleep. If there was such a thing as the red-eyed monster bass, there was only one person he could ask, and that person was asleep upstairs.